Welcome to PeaceTV News. Yesterday, Prime Minister of Ukraine Denis Shmyhal had a face-to-face meeting with the US Defense Minister Lloyd Austin. Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal repeated Ukraine's requests for F-15 and F-16 fighter jets and longer-range missiles from the US directly to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin in remarks at the top of their meeting at the Pentagon. However, Austin did not comment on the specific requests, but did commit to expanding the production of military assets in the US for Ukraine. "We will keep investing in our own defense industrial base to further ramp up production," said Austin. Austin also thanked Ukraine for its focus on accountability for the security assistance the US has already provided. "Let me commend you for the unprecedented level of transparency that Ukraine has provided to ensure our security assistance remains in the hands of Ukraine's defenders," said Austin. Austin ignored a question about the effect of the leaked classified documents from the Pentagon on Ukraine. More on jets. In March, Slovakia joined fellow NATO member Poland in pledging to send MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine. The White House had said that Poland's decision to send the fighter jets is a sovereign decision that won't spur US President Joe Biden to send F-16 aircraft. Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal thanked the United States for its continued military support as he met with US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin at the Pentagon on Wednesday. Denis Shmyhal thanked the United States and the Secretary personally for their significant military support, as well as for their efforts to establish the contact group on Ukraine's defense, which currently includes more than 50 countries, his office said in a readout of the meeting. The pair discussed Ukraine's further needs, with Shmyhal asking Austin to supply Ukraine with more weapons. Ukrainian soldiers have proven that they can master the latest equipment in a short time and use it effectively on the battlefield, he said, according to his office, for a quicker victory. Ukraine also needs more weapons, air defense, heavy artillery and equipment, mortars and ammunition. Ukrainian soldiers want more than tanks and bullets. Oleg, a 25-year-old Ukrainian tank driver, used to feel excited behind the joystick of T-60 for tank. When the war broke out in February 2022, however, this new feeling has long passed. After more than a year, Oleg piloted T-64 manufactured in 1983, which is older than himself. Ukraine inherited thousands of T-64s after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Now, to start the tank from a complete shutdown, it takes Oleg at least 20 minutes after a day of operation. Ukrainian soldiers had to spend an extra day on tank maintenance. Old-fashioned optics did not allow the crew of the T-64 to fight at night, and they complained that the tank was too slow. "Controlling these tanks is like driving an old car. I'm bored. I want something faster," said Oleg. This soldier and his comrades in other Ukrainian armoured units felt impatient while waiting for Western tanks to pledge aid. Weapons that Kiev said would play a key role in the counter-offensive spring. Ukraine has been calling on the West for tank aid since last year, but it was only in February this year that the United States and its NATO allies accepted, after months of deliberating whether the move would lead Russia to escalate the conflict. The West also spent many months considering the decision to donate howitzers and rockets to Ukraine. Britain was the first Western country to ship tanks to Ukraine, with 14 Challenger to South. Germany last month delivered 18 Leopard to South, and Poland delivered 14 tanks of this line. Germany, Denmark, the Netherlands and possibly Belgium will deliver to Ukraine at least 100 Leopard 1 main battle tanks. The US is expected to deliver the M1 Abrams tanks in the fall. Ukraine hopes to rely on new means of combat to reverse the situation on the battlefield, which has been deadlocked since last winter. Western main tank models promise to bring significantly greater features and firepower than the weapons that Ukraine inherited from the Soviet era. In theory, Western tanks have better armour, longer range, faster rate of fire, superior aiming system and more flexibility than existing Ukrainian tanks over the past few months. Oleg's T-6 for tank has operated in moderation to save ammo, They fired less than half the amount of shells they did in their attacks last summer. Sometimes we sit here all day without firing. We eat, sleep and read in the tank, said Gunner Danilo, 25. The lack of ammunition did not allow Danilo to raise the cannon to fire in a rainbow style from a long distance, which had low accuracy, but had to close. Lower the barrel to shoot straight to increase the rate of hitting the target. Ukrainian and Russian forces also face another obstacle. The mud after the winter ends. Sometimes the mud gets here, said Denis, a 37-year-old Ukrainian tank driver, pointing to his waist and saying, the soldier said the speed of tanks can be reduced by 3/4 when traveling through muddy terrain, making them easy targets for Russian anti-tank teams with missiles like the Cornet. Hamish de Breton Gordon, a colonel who once commanded a British tank regiment, said the Leopard 2 and Challenger 2 had a higher ground clearance than the Soviet-made tanks production, making them less likely to get stuck in the mud. He predicted that Western tanks supported by artillery, unmanned aerial vehicles UAVs and Air Force could lead Ukraine's advance to penetrate the Russian line. However, the weight of Western tanks can cause problems for Ukraine, as many bridges built during the Soviet era can only withstand the weight of tanks under 50 tons. 3 tank models, Challenger 2, M1 Abrams and Leopard 2, all weigh over 60 tons. Western experts also warn that receiving 3 different main tank models will make Ukraine face a huge logistical challenge, as they are all very complex and require separate maintenance and repair processes. The Russian military recently announced the creation of units dedicated to destroying Western tanks that aid Ukraine, training soldiers to attack weaknesses, weapons and procedures to use to destroy them. The Kremlin once warned that Western tanks will burn up on the battlefield like the rest of weapons.